These four speedsters top the chart when it comes to being lightweight, but there's still 41 grams between the lightest and the heaviest of these four. So does lighter always mean better? So welcome back to another running shoe comparison video. We're taking a look at the lightweight speedsters today, 4 of them. And yes, you counted it right, there is one missing. We'll be taking a look at the Nike Streakfly, the Adios 9 from Adidas, the Brooks HYPERION 2, and the missing KINVARA 14 from Saucony. And yes, I know it's Saucony, but I just can't stop saying it's Saucony. So today what I'm going to do is go through the pros and cons of all of these shoes, show the specs because obviously they're extremely similar, show why they're top of the class when it comes to these lightweight speed day shoes, and then go through the order from softest to firmest, talk about their performance, and then of course at the end, most importantly I think, durability. So let's kickstart with the Nike Streakfly. Now the Nike Streakfly is the lightest of these 4 shoes. In my UK size 13 it comes in at 215 grams or 7.6 ounces. We're talking about 32 to 26 mil stack height, and it is an 8mm drop from heel to toe. And let's go through a couple of pros and cons. I think a lot of us are on the same page when it comes to this shoe with a couple of things. The Zoom X foam I think is one of them. I think a lot of us really appreciate the Zoom X foam in this shoe. Very, very comfortable. There's enough in here to give you a bit of a performance benefit, but there's not too much to take away that racing flat feel. Durability is obviously the other thing that I think a lot of people agree on. It is absolutely atrocious, and we'll come to that at the end. I don't want to dive into too much of that now. I want to say I've been through a couple of pairs of these. This is my second pair now. The first pair I got to around about 200 miles before they completely fell apart. This one is around 125 miles. To be fair, I haven't laced one up for quite a while now, but I do have very fond memories of running this shoe, and I do feel like the Zoom X is really what made this shoe. The fit as well is really good. I've always, to be fair, had good fitting shoes when it comes to Nike. I've never had any sizing issues, unlike some other brands, and so I kind of felt like this really lightweight mesh upper and the small amount of Zoom X foam with the midfoot shank in here, which if I fold it like this, you can see pretty much exactly where it is. It is in that midfoot area. It's just to add a little bit of stability. It's definitely not a performance enhancing element, let's say like a carbon plate or a rod. It is just to give you a little bit of stability so that your ankles don't collapse in so much. And to be fair, I never had that issue with this shoe. So it was one of my favorites, absolutely. The new Adidas Adios 9 comes in with a 7mm heel to toe drop. We're talking about 27mm of stack in the heel, 20 in the forefoot. And in my UK size 13, it's 220 grams. So that's 5 grams heavier than the Streakfly, or 7.7 ounces. And I'm struggling to find a bad word to say about this shoe right now. So I produced a first impressions video where I took this thing out on a bit of concrete and mainly buffed out fire track trails, and did 15 by 1 minute on, 1 minute off, and it blew me away. It was absolutely fantastic, and I loved it, if I'm honest with you. It was great. And again, the Light Strike Pro foam, just like the Streakfly, there's enough to get that performance enhancing element, but there's not too much that takes it away from feeling like a racing flat. I should probably stop saying performance enhancing, shouldn't I? Because you're going to think I'm talking about something else. We'll just call it performance benefits. The fit in this shoe, unlike other Adidas shoes, is absolutely brilliant, and since then I've taken it on another couple of runs. Number one, I wanted to test it out on a nice steady run, see if it could be used on those steady days, and it was really good. And then I've also now taken it on a second session in my taper week, which ended up being 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute times 2. So 2 sets of those, and that was out on the tarmac, and again it absolutely blew me away. I loved it. I loved what the shoe offered me. Great responsiveness, no rods in this single place. I mean, Adidas are known for their rods, so no rods in this shoe. It is just a pure thin slab of Light Strike Pro, which does really well, coupled with the nice comfortable upper and proper fitting Adidas shoe means that this is an absolute beauty. And the fact that it's only 5 grams less than the Streakfly is brilliant. It's gonna come down to durability in the long run. The Brooks HYPERION 2 is next. This also has an 8mm drop, so we've had an 8, a 7 and an 8. This one has 26mm of stack in the heel, 18 in the forefoot, but I believe that's measured without the insoles. With the insoles, I think it's sort of 34, 26, but it definitely feels much lighter than the Brooks HYPERION Max. In my UK size 13, this one comes in at 254 grams, so that's 39 grams heavier than the Streakfly, or 8.9 ounces. Now I'll clarify the stack height there, because when I published the video on this shoe, I said 2618. A few people jumped in and said that's without the insoles, and that's absolutely fine. A lot of people said that it's actually meant to be the same stack height as the Brooks HYPERION Max. I'll be honest with you, it doesn't feel like that. It definitely feels less stack height, and it definitely feels like it's something that I couldn't do what I used to be able to do in the Brooks HYPERION Max. It feels much more of a lightweight racer, and I will say a much improved version from from the previous one. I've been loving this shoe, got this one over 100 miles. Durability is going to be a lot better, I think, in this shoe. I've always had good success with durability in Brooks shoes, whether it's the Tempo, the Max. The Max 2 is currently over 100 miles and showing no signs of wear and tear, and this one is also doing the same. I love the comfort in this shoe, just like the other two, a great upper, a bit of a thicker upper, hence why it's going to be a bit heavier. But again, it's one of those uppers that just hugs the top of your foot really nicely, and it's got a slight aggressive rocker at the end. I do feel like it moves you through that gait cycle really nicely. The foam is unlike what you would see in the Nike or the Adidas, where I kind of feel like you get a massive amount of performance benefit. I think this is more coupled with the fact that you've got a nice rocker at the end, which is a bit more sturdy, so you feel like the nitrogen infused foam here does give a firmer ride, but a very, very responsive ride. But also you get that smooth roll through when you're using this shoe as well. So it does feel slightly different to the other two, but I will say this is an absolute gem. As I said, over 100 miles, I think the grip on the shoe is absolutely fantastic. There's a bit more about it, but it still kind of does fall into that lightweight category. And wrapping this one up is the Saucony KINVARA 14. I'm talking about the 14 here. I never had the 15 or don't have the 15. It has a 4mm heel to toe drop. It is a 31 to 27 stack height drop. And we're talking about 256 grams, which is 41 grams heavier than the Streakfly. So that and the Brooks are very close, or 9 ounces. Now this is sadly the one I don't have, but massive fond memories, and I do feel like this absolutely fits into this category. Very similar to the Brooks, and it's one of those shoes, again, like the other three, that I have used for those shorter, faster intervals, whether it's out on the concrete or out on the trails. I did loads of workouts in the KINVARA 14, nearly got it to 200 miles, I think around about 174-ish. I might be really wrong there, but I think it was around that mark, and it did really well. It was a very comfy shoe. It divided opinion. I think there are a lot of hardcore KINVARA fans that as the KINVARA has got past version 11 or 12, which to be honest, I really did not like version 11. It's kind of split opinion. It's gone very lightweight. I feel like it is a much improved version from previous times. However, a lot of people are not feeling the same, and that's absolutely understandable. But what I found with the midsole on that one, again, on the slightly firmer side, but it just was super light and very responsive, and actually, surprisingly, not necessarily bouncy, but I felt like I got a good bit of compression in that foam. So when I towed off, it just gave me a lot back. I had some great memory. I actually chose the KINVARA over so many other shoes in my workout time. There were so many shoes that got shelved because of the KINVARA, and it was such a simplistic shoe. Very similar upper feeling to the Brooks, a bit heavier than the Nike and Adidas, but it was very, very comfy, and that midsole foam was absolutely brilliant. It just worked really well. I got rid of it though because it was starting to come to the end of its life, and we'll talk about that when it comes to durability. So if we talk about like a softness to firmness scale, let's put a bit of context out there. I am 6'6" and I weigh nearly 90 kilos, so I am going to be very different to a lot of you guys, but some of you will agree or disagree on this. The Streakfly absolutely was the softest out of these four shoes, followed by the KINVARA, followed by the Adidas ADIOS 9, followed by the Brooks HYPERION 2. As I said, the KINVARA was a surprise for me. It was really, really good, but of course we're dealing with Zoom X here. A lot of us know, if we've tested or have used a lot of Nike shoes, we know what Zoom X is all about. It's very soft, very cushioned, and actually, this is probably one of the last shoes that I tested from Nike that I really enjoyed the Zoom X in. It was around that time when we were dealing with the Vaporfly 1 and 2, and this was when they hadn't messed up the formulation, in my opinion, because I felt like the V2 and the Vaporfly went a little bit plasticky, and now they've changed it for version 3. Again, it's softer, but it definitely goes a little bit dead after a longer time being in the shoe, I find. But this one is really, really good. It definitely feels like Zoom X evolved, and yes, this is absolutely the softest, with the Brooks being on the other end of the spectrum. Now, when you're talking performance, the fastest shoes, what makes you feel really fast and what you get back from the shoes, I think these two absolutely top the charts. I think I would probably give this one the nod, if I'm honest with you, and I am a huge Streakfly fan, but I gave the nod to the Takumi Sen when I was testing the Streakfly and the Takumi, but then I feel like this is much more of a natural comparison. Very similar stack heights, very similar purposes of the shoes. I think the Takumi has the advantage of the rods, but I think I'd still give the nod to this, and I do think it comes down to that midsole foam. But I'm absolutely not going to take anything away from the Streakfly. I feel like if you're looking for either of these four shoes, you can look at these two and go, yeah, I think these are the ones that are going to perform the best if you want to feel fast out on the workouts and you want to get something back from the shoe. Obviously, the danger with shoes with lower stack heights could be more a case of not getting any feedback from the shoe when you are going through that gait cycle, but these two absolutely deliver that, and they deliver it in abundance. But when it comes to durability, I just want to highlight three shoes. The Adios 9, straight away I'm going to say I've got 3 runs in it. I'm not going to comment on the durability of that shoe. You guys might get there before me, but I'd love to see if that one gets well past 200 miles. What I will say is a blanket rule for me, these type of shoes, I look for around 200, 250 miles, because I know that they're going to break down quicker than the more built up daily trainers. Streakfly is the worst, by the way, but we'll come to that. I feel like the Brooks is going to be absolutely the best. It's just built better. The weight is obviously more. It's still a lovely shoe. I've been using it a lot. It was absolutely my speed shoe of the year last year, and I stand by that. Absolutely brilliant shoe, and it's more versatile than the others in this list. I could use this for more types of workout. It's just got a little bit more about it, and I personally prefer a firmer foam, which is what I get on with the Adios 9 so well with the Light Strike Pro, and this one I've always got on well with the Brooks performance shoes, let's say the Tempo, as I said, the Max, and now this as well. And those shoes in particular have lasted me well over 400 miles for some of them. This one, to be honest with you, I really can't see it being any less than at least 300. Obviously, I've only just got it over 100. There's plenty more life in it. Midsole feels just as good as when it started, and I think it's only just starting to break in. So I think this one, from a longevity perspective, is well worth the money. The Kinvara, sadly, was just starting to get a little bit flat after the 150 mark, which is why I was a bit more hesitant to put more miles in it when I got to around 170 miles. I got to the point where I thought, do you know what, I could probably use it out on the trails all right and get some fast workouts done out there, but not on the concrete anymore. And then other shoes came into the rotation, it got shelved, and I just thought, do you know what, let's park it there, let's leave it there, let's not get an injury in the shoe, let's just leave it and call it a success story. Because for me, it was a really, really good shoe. But again, if you're looking at durability, I don't think that one would have got much more than 200 miles. And again, I believe that midsole is a standard EVA midsole, which can be very hit or miss when it comes to the durability. But of course, we can't avoid looking at this thing when it comes to poor durability. So my last pair at 200 miles, this rubber outsole was completely peeling off. I'd get splits in the midsole everywhere. This one has around 125 miles. I've got a thorn that's gone up just in there. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see. Yeah. So I've got a thorn that's just gone up in there. And my last pair were doing exactly the same. I get little stones and rocks, even from running out on the tarmac, that would just get lodged into this Zumex foam. This is super soft, super squishy. As you can see here, I can really compress it. It doesn't take a lot to burst through and get something stuck in there. And that's what I was finding a lot with the other one. Plus, as I said, the rubber pads just wearing out everywhere. The upper, I never had a problem with, but the outsole was absolutely atrocious. And as I said, 200 miles, I had to retire the other pair. This is 125, and it's starting to go the same. Nothing particularly is peeling off yet, but I am starting to see little bits and pieces getting lodged into the midsole. And yeah, honestly, 200 miles, I think, is the limit for this shoe. So which one would I choose, and which one should you choose? Well, I genuinely think it should come down to what you're looking for in your training. I think from a performance element, you're looking at the Adios 9 or the Streakfly. Those two are great. And of course, with the Streakfly version 2 coming very soon, you can find the Streakfly on discount. That being said, the Adios 9 is only £120. And if you're in the UK and you're a UK Athletics member, you can get a 15% discount off that on sportshoes.com, meaning you can get it for £101.99. But if you want something that's got a little bit more about it, don't mind a firmer midsole, then I would not hesitate but to recommend the Brooks Hyperion 2. It is fantastic, and I genuinely think that one is going to last at least 300 miles. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, but I have a suspicion that if I was to record this video in a year's time after being able to put a lot of miles in this shoe, I think this one's going to get above and beyond 200 miles. I've found success with Light Strike Pro foam in the Adios Pro 3. Now, that one got to 500 miles. I know Light Strike Pro is a super durable midsole. This one, however, I think this is more of a similar formulation to what we're finding in the Pro 4. It does feel a little bit different from what I experienced in the Pro 3, but not too much. I still think it's a lovely, firmer, but very responsive ride. I've said it so many times, it could be a top 3 midsole for me. I genuinely think it could be a top midsole. It could be my absolute favorite. I keep saying it, and I really do find that I gravitate towards this midsole. I loved it in the Takumi, I loved it in the Pro 3, I'm loving it in the Adios 9. So time will tell. Shame we don't have a crystal ball, but I reckon that one could be really good. But I hope that was useful, guys. I hope you found it worthwhile, and if you did, please do consider giving this video a like. If you enjoyed this one, then make sure you check out one of these videos on screen now. I'll leave a link up here if you want to see more of what happened in my Adios 9 first impressions video, and I'll leave a link down here if you want to see a more longer term video in the Nike Alpha Fly 3. And with that, I'll see you on one of those.